Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss White. Today, I will be reading you your week or one of your week 3 read alouds. This is for parts 1 and 2, and the title is Elizabeth Leads the Way, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and the Right to Vote, written by Tanya Lee Stone, illustrated by Rebecca Gibbon. Now, this is a nonfiction text. And I know in my room, and I'm sure in a lot of the other rooms on first grade hall, as well as in other grades, we remember nonfiction, not fiction, fake, not fake. Nonfiction stories are based on real events or real people. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was a real person, a real American hero. She fought for equal rights for girls and women. And although this is not a photograph on the picture, it is an actual depiction or drawing of what she would have looked like. Now I can look at her petticoat, which is what this is called. What she has on, a petticoat, and it's long, and she's got a bonnet. Those are not things that we would necessarily wear out today, but in this time period that she grew up in, that is an actual depiction of what a woman might have been dressed like. Now I can see her sash says Votes for Women, and she's carrying an American flag. So even though this book does not have actual photographs throughout the book, it certainly does have some really good illustrations that match the time period. There is one photograph on the front, and let me get this up so you can see it. It says in the caption for the photograph, Elizabeth Cady Stanton at the age of 20 years old. And there is a quote. It says, "We do not expect our path will be strewn with flowers of popular applause, but over the thorns of bigotry and prejudice will be our way." Now, that is very detailed and a lot of not such first grade words. But it pretty much says that the things that she fought for, getting equal rights for women, was not easy, but it was something that had to be done. And I guess this is a depiction of her as an older woman. It says, "What would you do if someone told you you can't be what you want to be because you are a girl? What would you do if someone told you your vote doesn't count, your voice doesn't matter because you are a girl? Would you ask why? Would you talk back? Would you fight for your rights?" Elizabeth did. All of these things used to be true back when Elizabeth Cady was a girl. And all of these things might still be true today if Elizabeth hadn't led the way. She was only 4 years old the first time she heard someone, a woman, say life was better for boys. The woman had come to visit Elizabeth's new baby sister. What a pity it is she's a girl. How could anyone look at a little baby and feel sad? What could be wrong about being a girl? There's Elizabeth. I see lots of things in this photograph, or not this photograph, this picture, that tell me a lot about the time period. I can see how she's dressed. I can look at the furniture and see how it's from that time period. And then I look over at the two women, and they're having tea. And the baby is dressed the way that a baby would have been dressed then. Keep that in mind as we go through this. She was 13 years old when her father, Judge Cady, told a woman whose husband had died that the farm she had spent her whole life working on would be taken from her. Without a husband, the law stated, nothing belonged to her. Elizabeth was horrified by this unfairness. She said that the law should be cut out of every book. Judge Caddy told her that wouldn't change anything. The law was still the law, and only men were allowed to change laws. And then I see a word that the illustrator has drawn across there. It says preposterous. And all that means is that that makes no sense. She decided right then and there that she could do anything a boy could do. She jumped over high hurdles on horseback. She rafted across a raging river. She won a prize for being the best in Greek studies. Her father was proud, but he worried about his strong spirited, rule breaking daughter. Now, I'm going to pause right there. Now, just because she was a rule breaker doesn't make her a bad person. Back then, a lot of the rules had to be broken so that they could be changed to make things equal. Ah, you should have been a boy. He knew how much easier her life would be. But Elizabeth wasn't interested in easy. At 16, since colleges would not let girls in, Elizabeth begged her father to send her to a girls' school to continue her learning. So, while most young ladies were getting married and washing dishes, doing laundry, and having babies, Elizabeth was studying religion, math, science, French, and writing. Several years later, Elizabeth Cady met Henry Stanton. He was an abolitionist, speaking out against slavery. He understood how unfair it was for people not to have rights or power. So we have Elizabeth, who was interested in equality for women, and she has now met her husband, or soon to be husband, Henry Stanton, who spoke out against slavery and how bad it was to mistreat people because of the color of their skin. That's what an abolitionist is. He did not laugh when Elizabeth talked about freedom. He did not laugh when Elizabeth said all people should be able to live life the way they choose. And he did not laugh when she told him she would add his name to her own, but would not give up hers just to marry him. So Elizabeth Cady became Elizabeth Cady Stanton and had babies, cooked meals, washed dishes, mended clothes, and did laundry. She loved her babies, but she did not love cooking and dishes and mending and laundry. One day, her friend Lucretia Mott invited her to a lunch. Lucretia had always shared Elizabeth's ideas about all the things women could do and would do if only they had the right. The other women at lunch shared them too. Elizabeth got fired up. She proposed they hold a meeting. A meeting that would gather together lots and lots of women from all around to talk. But what would they talk about? There were so many things that needed to be set straight. Married women couldn't own property or even the money they worked to earn. Elizabeth had learned long ago that only men could change the laws because only men could vote. And then here's some words in big colorful letters. That was it. So she's figured it out. That was the one thing that could change everything. If women could vote, they could help change all kinds of laws. This idea was so shocking, so huge, so daring. Elizabeth's friends gasped out loud. If they were flabbergasted, what would other people think? Now, flabbergasted is just the big fancy word for shocked. They were shocked. Elizabeth did not waver, which means she didn't give up. She knew voting was the only way to make a difference. Her battle cry for the right to vote rang out. Have it we must, use it we will. Even her Henry thought she had gone too far. But on July 19th, 1848, when Elizabeth arrived at the meeting place, she saw for herself that she hadn't. The small church in Seneca Falls, New York, was filled with hundreds of people. Elizabeth read aloud what she and a few of the women had written together. Their Declaration of Rights and Sentiments challenged the idea that the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal. When she was finished, she looked into the faces of the crowd and waited. The room was silent. Then a rumbling began. It grew louder and louder and louder as people argued whether or not women should be allowed to vote. Word of the meeting spread like wildfire. Newspapers across the country scolded Elizabeth for her boldness, but other women joined her in battle. The idea of women having the right to vote began to buzz in the ears of people from Maine to California. Elizabeth had tossed a stone in the water, and the ripples grew wider and wider and wider. Many said Elizabeth must be stopped, but she was unstoppable. She changed America forever. And that's the end. Now, there will be a video for parts 1 and 2 for your iReady workbook.